Welcome to Viva La Visionary, the podcast that celebrates the innovative ideas and mindsets of entrepreneurs and visionaries. Join your host, Coach Bob Schittefeld, as he dives into inspiring stories and practical insights from trailblazers who are changing the game. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned leader, this show is your source for motivation and creativity. Let's embark on this exciting journey together.
Hey there, Coach Bob here, host of Viva La Visionary, celebrating and elevating the visionary. And I'm so excited and honored to have John Glon with me today. John, how are you today?
Excellent.
And awesome. Of course you are. We're visionaries. That's what we tell everyone. Now, are we or not? That's a separate discussion. All right. So, John, you are a visionary. I'm just going to start with a simple little question. Why are you on this planet?
Why am I on this planet? That's a simple one. Yes, I can click that one off. My parents brought me here. No, I harness the human spirit of wonder, freedom, and possibility so that we can all be the humans that we truly are.
Nice. So it sounds like you've thought about this a little bit.
A few times, few iterations, man.
Awesome. Oh, I love it.
And you are the guy that got me thinking about that.
Well, thank you. I'm honored. And again, as I've been teaching, I've also been learning, but thank you. And I'm honored to be a part of that. So that I know of anyways, you have two different businesses. You have your business that you were doing before, and now I know you're also doing coaching. So tell me briefly about each of those.
Sure. So Great Lakes Essential Power, I started that 11 years ago. It's in the manufactured rep space. We sell heavy electrical equipment and components. And as you know, I've trying to find myself and find out what I really love doing. I had a ton of fun in it, in that business, but also trying to scratch that itch of hitting my why, and that's where you and I came across paths. And on what I'm doing now and what my future holds is doing growth coaching. So business growth coaching for leadership teams and facilitation.
Awesome.
Using the Bloom Growth operating system.
Right. Very cool. And now, are you still focused on or do a lot with Working Genius? I know that's something you were doing in the past and are very good at.
Yeah, that's one of the life lessons that I'll even maybe fast forward and throw at you is simplification. As visionaries and certainly someone who's trying to figure out what the heck they want to do in life at 44 years old, start grabbing onto many things to try to find the right high and to try to find the right thing. And Bloom Growth was one of those things that I stumbled across.
Right.
And as you know, I do love it. I love the framework of the Working Genius, Patrick Lencioni. I struggled a little bit with just the working model for me to run a business for me to do. But I love the principles of it, and I integrate it in my coaching. Of my
So that's part of your coaching. But yeah, and that's where, again, I love it. I know so little about it, and I've leaned on you to help me with my team and others because it is a great additional thing to know who I am and know who each other is. So yeah, so Colby, Working Genius. So I love that that's part of your coaching. And it's interesting, working with you helped me to understand, because here I was like, I've got Unscatter the Chatter and I Matter as our life operating system. And I like to think and know that it's helped you a little bit. I'm like, oh, he's going to be an I Matter coach. And you're like, well, I want to do my own thing. I'm like, well, hold on, And so it's interesting because I actually don't want 100 coaches. What Gino created is amazing and it works, and Bloom and others, that's all great. But what I realized, and I know you're familiar with the enlightened visionary journey, is the model that I've realized where, to be an enlightened visionary, it's get a business operating system, it's get a life operating system, join a relevant peer group, do the work on yourself. So that's retreats and workshops, to be coached and mentored, to become an authentic or a conscious thought leader, and then to coach or mentor. And what I'm realizing, and you were one of the first ones that I worked with, that it's like you have a call to adventure. I mean, and that's what we visionaries do. And we do have a lot of our own stuff that we're learning and teaching. And so I've realized that that's a big part of the whole journey. And then it's not only letting go of the vine, but it's living life beyond the vine. So almost everyone who's been attracted to me and us, it's like, this is really cool. Here's what I want to be known for. And so that coaching, and Jill Young, who she's going to be coming on to the forum in a couple of weeks talking about coaching is literally a role and responsibility as us as visionaries. So anyways, thank you for being you and saying, I want to use some of the stuff you taught me, but I want to do my own thing. And, Joseph Campbell, that hero's journey. So you're following the journey.
And on that, I think, it was exciting because of what you helped me uncover about myself I found myself wanting to do that for others. Also, what I think really, and I think that was again a very sexy and shiny thing for me in the moment, and I'd still love to make that impact, just in a different way, because I found that maybe it wasn't what I was here to do. Right.
Right.
On the one-on-one business coaching, right?
Right.
Executive, et cetera.
Yep.
I think that's just where one of those, hey, I tried it and I have I have a different way of doing it.
Yep.
And it's been so instrumental, the working that you do. And you know that many reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing today is based upon our relationship.
Well, thank you. Honored to be a part of that. So, being a visionary, what is your definition? Like, what is our role as a visionary, or roles as a visionary?
I'd say within a company, I guess looking at that at the professional framework, now the visionary is the one that needs to set the roadmap, not the chart the map, the end game. What are we here for? What are we doing? What are we trying to accomplish as an organization? Set the stage of how much do we want to grow? Are we saying we want to grow? Are we truly want to have that in all the bones of everyone in the company to grow? And so that, along with that growth mindset, if that is the intent, is setting the culture. And so I think that, because so many times the visionary is the founder. It's not very often that it does happen, but it's not often that a visionary grows up through an organization and starts running a company. And so, by happenstance, the company just tends to follow whatever the culture that is, good, bad, ugly, all the above. And then, if I took it down to a humanity level, I think our role is, and it's a heavy weight to bear, but I think it is elevating the world. And I know you say it in different words, but any ingenuity, anything that exists in this world, some visionary had to think of it, had to get people corralled to go make it happen. And that's the lifeblood of our economy. It's the lifeblood of, again, of really anything to actually happen, not even economically, whether it be in a community, in church, etc. There has to be someone that's seeing a vision and explaining it and getting others to go follow it.
Oh, I love that.
I was going to say, so like I said, I don't want us to feel like we have that kind of weight on our shoulders, but at the same time, I mean, we all have a piece of that.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate that. And I know we've talked about that as well, that it's not just that I'm a visionary in my business, I'm a visionary in life. And that's not an excuse. It's not that I'm better than anyone else, but it's not only am I here to help coach visionaries, but I think we visionaries have an opportunity, and I think almost an obligation, to teach people about vision and visioning. That doesn't mean that I'm going to teach my kids to be visionaries. I think we're born with it. I think we have a different gene, as Dr. Doug Brackman talks about in Driven. And yet, for your goal or for your schooling or, how do you vision it? And so to get people to even, because a lot of people are like, well, just, fast forward. Sometimes we visionaries live too much in the future, but to teach people to imagine the future and then, and then not be worried about it, but have our conscious and subconscious thinking about it. And so that's a big opportunity for us. And again, not just to our next generation and our current leadership team, but to our churches and our community and our kids. So so we're visionaries in life, not just a seat on the team.
No, absolutely. I think part of that goes along with that is getting people to think of what might be possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Most people are like, well, again, it just happened to be interviewing someone, and what could you possibly do? What would you really love to do? What do you really want to do?
Right.
Well, it's not that you can actually choose what you want to do in life. All right.
Let's move along.
But I think that's one thing that we are here to do, is to, whether we're trying to push an idea on someone else, or at least get other people to start thinking of what's possible. So absolutely.
Yep, love that. So what, if you could share, like, looking back, what's one of the biggest lessons that you've learned to grow to another level as a visionary? So something you either had to change, you overcame, a new mindset. So what's one thing you could share to say, boy, when I figured this out or implemented this, it helped me to be a much more effective and or happy visionary?
I know you and I could both, probably rattle off about 80 things of learning. But I'd say there's some recency to it, but also just an insane amount of legitimacy. And that's, again, simplifying. And I kind of brought that up earlier. One of the downfalls, I think, of many visionaries is just is being busy, is constantly moving and thinking and trying to move to something else and see what'll work. And, I can go do this too. And, there's probably many psychological things to that. But, finding myself as I'm figuring out or trying to figure out what I want to do, well, let me try this and let me try that. And let me try this. And one of them will stick. Again, there's maybe a time and a place for that. But at the same time, as we many times know, is the more you do, the less you actually get done. And so recency for me, as I was mentioning, I was trying to do some working genius facilitations,
Right,
coaching practice, and working on building up my company and transitioning and things like that. I had a little bit of catastrophic failure potentially in my base business that made me had to jump back in, right? We lost our number one channel partner. That was a significant piece of our revenue. And so it made me jump back in. And what I realized is I was trying to juggle three different things, right? Three different mindsets in business. And I realized one reason was because it was a human I cared deeply about, that I was trying to work with me in the working genius side of the business. And the more that she was more honest with me and saying, wait, are you doing this because you're trying to help me, or do you really want to do this? And I realized I think I was trying to help her more than myself. And so when we finally realized and said, hey, the more I let go, the more she'll actually flourish.
Right.
And so a number of lessons in there, but the one is just a simplification. When I let that part go, I'm not letting go of helping her, but me thinking I have to help solve that part of the business and realizing, hey, that can just come as it comes. I now have laser focus on my coaching business and laser focus on the parts that I need to do inside my business. So that simplification is one that, again, it doesn't come easily to me. Yes to many things.
Well, it reminds me of years ago when I was explaining to a good friend of mine who's a marketing person, and I rambled for a bit, and she looked at me and she goes, "Hun, your 5 minutes of rambling was 20 seconds of brilliance." I'm like, okay, which 20 seconds? So I think to have a great person on our team or our spouse or a community to be able to share those ideas. And sometimes we do ramble, but then if it is worthwhile, okay, let's just, again, simplify. So that resonates a lot with me.
Yeah. And actually, I should add a little bit, which you know, my journey of, I'm in the community. I've been president of my children's, the dad's club for school, Lady of Victory. And it'll be 7 years that I've been doing that.
Wow.
And I have officially, I've told you before, in the past, I'm like, I'm not going to do it again. And so this is officially my last term. It's been announced. Not that I don't want to help.
Right.
I want to be there in spirit, but that's just another piece of simplification for my family, for myself.
Interesting. Two things that have shown up for me where, again, just busy. And so I left the EO organization after 30 years, and then they asked me to come speak. And so it's like I could impact it more not being a member today and just freeing up. And then again, what's filling up are things that are even greater impact. And then leaving the EOS implementer community a year ago, that was a hard decision because it's a community that I love and I learned a lot. And then they've asked me to come back and speak at their conference and get more involved. And so it's not just, selling my time for money. It's like, if I can help affect hundreds of visionaries, how many people are we impacting? Yeah. So, it's again, to let go of some of those things to say, well, what am I going to do? It's amazing what comes. So congratulations on all you've done with your kids. Because that's been my commitment for the last 25 years is to be around them and to give them all the support. So way to go, Dad. That's awesome. Very cool. Well, and then kind of the flip side. So that's a lesson is to simplify. What's an opportunity or an issue that you're working on now as a visionary? So it's like, boy, this is something I'm kind of wrestling with. It could be a business, it could be an idea, it could be a relationship, or something, one of your habits or focuses.
Yeah. I think one thing that we've preached, you and I have both, and I do to my clients is, the more we can get the visionary out of the day-to-day work and let them thrive and do the things that are going to be the best for the organization. I took that to an extreme and felt like I was doing it. Meaning, hey, I've got the company running itself. That was like I could go tell everybody, I'm not really in my business. And, that's what I'm supposed to say. But then someone asked me a really hard question, like, well, is it growing? Like, oh, wait a minute. There still needs to be a rudder. Everyone was just like, hey, let's hold it together versus I'm doing a great job. But was there someone really pushing the envelope to push it further? So the learning in it is you can certainly step all the way out of your business if you don't want to be a part of it. But there still needs to be, there's still a great value that you bring. It doesn't have to be day to day as a visionary, as the growth. And what really happened for me, what I've been working on was coming back in the business, but in the right way, not to solve all the problems, not to do all the work for everyone, but me coming back in to help give clarity on what our future looks like financially, to really start, what's our process of some better forecasting and cash flow projections and things like that, which that opened up the possibilities for everyone. That, again, we thought we did well, but now it does feel like we're on a rocket ship. And again, because I came in and I'm doing the work.
Well, it's interesting because I find a lot of visionaries. Again, it is kind of the sexy thing. Is I've let go of the vine, and it doesn't mean you have to leave your business, but it's to again let your team flourish and be available when they need you, and come back on certain things, especially with passion. It's interesting because I get people so excited, and I don't even think they know why, and that's part of my galvanizing. But passion, people love to follow and aspire to be that passion. So again, that's for our employees, for our prospects, for our vendors. So we can be a great visionary for, hours a week, and again, to be gone, but still be available. And there's an art and a science to how much of that. So I appreciate that you let go, but then you came back. And like when I took a couple months sabbatical 25 years ago and came back and figured out a few things personally, and I came back, I'm like, I'm back. And they're like, cool. But hold on, we don't want you doing all the stuff that you were doing before. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? And they're like, well, go out and entertain clients. I'm like, ooh, get drunk with clients. I'm good with that. So that's one of my roles. But it was just building relationships. I'm like, but that's easy. It's like, it's okay. Not everyone can do that. And to, again, even with prospects and clients, to get them excited about their business. One of my clients, we handle their international mail, and I basically said, I want to spend more time with you. He's like, dude, you're our vendor. You're fine. I'm like, no. And so he's like, well, I need to get more airtime for his pilot's license. I'm like, okay. So we literally flew up north, and as we're flying, and it seemed like a Volkswagen Beetle up in the sky. I'm like, so who is your advisory board? And he's like, well, you're one of them. I'm like, I'm just your international mail vendor. He's like, yeah, but you are someone that I can bounce ideas off of and whatnot. And then we talked about his business, and I helped him to come up with ideas for his business that helped me to get more business as well. But it was just amazing how, I thought my business was kind of boring, but relationships wasn't boring, and culture wasn't boring. And again, in hindsight, I wouldn't change anything. But if I would have just stayed there for another year or two, I could have sold for probably 10 times as much. But it was kind of like, I got to get on to the next thing, so it's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, so a couple more questions. So how impactful has a community of visionaries been for you? So just wanted to give a little, so we have the Visionary Forum, which you're an original member of. And so I just wanted to get your take on how valuable is it to be a part of a community of visionaries?
I cannot express the importance enough of being a part of a community of not just like-minded people, because you don't want everyone to be the same, but intentional people.
Right.
Yes, it can be good for business. Obviously, it's a trusted environment. It's not what that's for. The outputs of it without effort can be business. So that's just, again, people don't want to say it, but not say it. But having that, for me, there's a reason that I am drawn to it. The TVF, many of the EO people that I've come across over the past couple of years, a similar aspect of vulnerability in the process, that you feel welcome. You feel like you want to contribute. You feel like you're growing as a human. There's an uncomfort that is beautiful. And I think majority of the world is missing that. Majority of the world is missing a community that can be uplifting and sharing and caring.
And getting us, I think is, so again, I've been in so many groups, and even like EO is amazing, but with the Visionary Forum, it's been, oh my gosh, it's other visionaries. And so it's, instead of it be like, well, here's what's wrong, it's like, wow, what could that look like? And it's not just go for everything, but it's like to share that passion. Then it's also, one of our things is we network for each other, not to each other. Mm-hmm. So when I have an idea, again, someone's going to say, hey, have you thought of this? What about this? And is there someone I can introduce you to? And again, we may or may not go after that vision, but to just at least take it to the next level has been amazing. And so it's people that celebrate it. And so it's not just what's the word I'm looking at, a narcissistic group that's like, everything is great. But everything is a possibility. And just to keep that visionary juice going has been amazing for me. And again, like you already mentioned it, to have other people say, I know someone that has done it before, or how can I help? And it's like, and even if they don't have anything to do with my industry or ideas, it's just another visionary, because we are good at problem solving. Our ideas are connecting. It's just been amazing.
Well, and that's where, I restate it, right? Business comes from it, not from the people within, but purely because everyone, again, if you're in the right curated community, and this happens to be one of them, where everyone is close to a help. I mean, it is a help first mentality. It's not, they might not say it's a core value, but it sure shows up in the fact that, however many people are in the forum, I probably know 8x people outside of that because of that, because of a connection and a connection and a connection. And it just instant, again, as I say, instant comfort that people get it and know what you're up against and are always willing to help.
Yep. Well, and I appreciate you saying that. I think that's missing for a lot of people. I was the PTA president for our middle school, speaking of being involved, and we created a thing called the Parent Forum. And we got together outside of PTA, but we had a meeting once a month where I brought in a speaker. This may sound familiar, like for a visionary forum, but something that added value to us as a parent. And then we would do a quick check-in. So we use an iMatter tool called the Take 5 check-in and a Take 2 check-in, just to kind of, then it would be like, oh my gosh, what are you struggling with as a parent? What is a celebration? And it was like, I'm not alone. And so not only to get experience share and ideas and thoughts and wisdom, but also to realize I'm not as messed up as they are, or someone is just messed up. So again, that peer group is so yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, kids can use it, parents can use it, and different seats on a leadership team can use it. But so I have one more question I'm going to ask, but any other wisdom you want to share, thoughts or questions for me? I mean, again, this is to me the greatest time ever to be alive and the greatest time ever to be a visionary. But what else? Anything else you want to share before I conclude with one last question for you?
It's just so relevant in so many. This just came up last week in a session that I was in around the mentality of business. Right, whereas in the 50s it was about some tactics. How do we get getting stuff done, working hard, right. And then the tasks, and then maybe move to tactics. Maybe in the 70s. Then it goes to some strategy later on in the 80s and 90s, and now it's about purpose. And there are a great deal of companies that are really bringing purpose to growing a business, and not all, but the great ones. It just hit me because of how much, again, the work you're doing, the work that you're constantly trying to show people is, you start with what's your why, and don't tell me that you make clay pots, right? Why are you here? And you do start with that a lot. Like, no. Why are you here? Right? It's why are you here and why are you here? And right. I love that. And, it's just the more people hanging around each other to realize that their purpose is a purpose that can be followed, and having a company with a purpose, it's just so relevant to, I know I was meant to have that meeting last week, and I know I was meant to have this meeting today because, bringing it all together.
Right. No, I love that. And I think, again, the business operating system is amazing, but what a lot of them are missing is the life of the leader. Mm-hmm. And so, again, I may not be running this business forever, but I'm the one who founded it. And so it is based on a lot of who I am. And so to really dive into who am I as a person, not just, what's my why, what, and how, and to who for the business, but what's my why, what, and how, for me in my life. And so when that integrates, it's magic. And we are now, like you mentioned, the 50s, the 60s, and 70s, we have now entered, and again, suspend disbelief, but I mean, literally astrologically, we've gone from more of a patriarchal world and control and process and structure, which is all wonderful, to now more of the feminine, and it's the teamwork and the collaboration and the purpose. And so, and again, the world, I call this the wisdom age, and some people are like, there's a lot of divisiveness, and there is, because we've hit the ceiling of complexity and we're busting through it. And that to me is the movement and the calling and that we're going through, not just in business but in life. It's like, how do we leave this world better than we found it? And a few years ago I was worried about that, and now it's like, I can't control the world, but if I can have a little bit of control and just, like you said earlier, do less and be more, it's magic is happening, and the connections are amazing, and the kids, a lot of kids already get it. It's but I'm still trying to copy what my dad did or what my grandfather did. And it's like, that was in the industrial age. And so now to let that go, and then not only teach and be an example for our kids, listen to our kids, because they actually kind of get it more than we do, I think.
Absolutely. And no, thanks for going there on the wisdom age. I was going to say that your verbiage will be different than the purpose one.
It's so similar.
Yeah. I mean, Jubilee, call it many different things. There's lots of things happening right now, spiritually, astrologically, this year. Let's all jump on the wagon and rocket it.
I love it. So that leads to my last question. You know, our tagline that we came up with about a year ago, it's Viva La Visionary in the name of this podcast. So what does Viva La Visionary mean to you?
To me, many of us, and you know my story, don't love celebrating thyself. Meaning, although I do love being in front, as we both love to say, I love being in front and I love speaking and I love those things. I also don't need or want to say, hey, I'm the greatest, right? That's not come celebrate me, do it, but I'm not going to say it. Right. So there's some things in there. But what I think about, it's really celebrating the greatness. And when we look about celebrate the greatness of what visionaries bring, again, as to the world, as I mentioned earlier, right? Elevating the consciousness, elevating, raising the tide of the universe. I think there's celebrating that. And within that, celebrate the fact that each and every person is a piece of that. Yep. So celebrating the greatness that I do bring. Doesn't matter of the things that I don't do well. Celebrating the greatness that I am.
Right.
Not being ashamed of the fact that I change my mind all the time. Don't be ashamed that I'm loud. Hey, revel in it.
Right.
Put the people around me, put some guardrails around it, but let's celebrate the greatness that I am. And I didn't celebrate myself for a really long time.
I appreciate that. And the common theme that I'm finding from these interviews and coaching a lot of visionaries is a lot of us visionaries didn't feel like we fit in school and even in our families sometimes. And then in the business world, you got to set rocks and you got to have process. And again, we need those things and we need the magic and the creativity. And so again, to feel good in my own skin is amazing. And so again, yeah, you said it very well, but it's just, again, great time to be alive, great time to be a visionary, great time to be your friend. I love you and appreciate you and excited for today and for the future, for what it holds for you, me, and the rest of the world.
Absolutely. Love you, brother.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you for tuning in to Viva La Visionary. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and found inspiration in our guest stories. If you loved what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and share the podcast with fellow dreamers and doers. Join us next time as we continue to explore the limitless possibilities of visionary thinking. Until then, keep dreaming big and taking action. Your vision matters.